Chapter 2. Next contestant, come on down. Her voice rang out, clear as a bell and disturbingly cheerful. A makeshift stage of rusting steel glinted in the winter sun. Behind it loomed a massive building, jutting from the concrete like a tombstone. Large LCD screens clung to its facade, forever dark, some cracked like old bones. What was once a city of light and commerce had become a fading echo. Tourists no longer flocked to capture photos beneath a symphony of neon light and sound. The costumed characters of another era were long gone. In their place, a spectacle of terror and justice. A large throng of cheering faces, gnarled between manic frenzy and simmering vengeance, screamed and whistled as their ranks split like the Red Sea. From the back of the crowd emerged a disheveled, broken man, flanked by 3 larger figures in red berets and armed with automatic rifles. His clothes, now filthy and torn, still bore the ghost of what had once been a finely tailored Hughes-style suit. A gold watch glinted from beneath one grimy cuff, a relic of a different life. Without warning, the butt of a rifle slammed into the back of his head, driving him to his knees. He turned, dazed, and looked up at his captors, grinning down at him. "Don't stop now, Doc. We're almost there." The lead escort's red beret gleamed like a flare against the dour sky, framed by the towering ruin of broken LCD screens and shattered advertisements. The broken man forced himself to his feet and turned toward the stage. Bodies were pressed against it from every angle, each one anchored to a face, and every face fixed on his ruin with twisted delight. How grim they looked, he thought. In a final, feeble gesture of dignity, he brushed the dust from his pant legs. His captors burst out laughing. The crowd followed, their jeers swelling into a chorus of mockery. Over the loudspeakers, a light, amused chuckle echoed, belonging to the hostess. "Friends," she called out, her voice bright and exaggerated, like a carnival barker in a fever dream. "It is my honor, no, my pleasure, to introduce to you the famous, the impeccably dressed, and our distinguished guest for this evening." She let the name hang in the air, then delivered it with theatrical flair, spacing out each syllable in that unmistakable announcer's cadence. "Dr. Enrico! For me!" The crowd erupted in a thunder of cheers and boos, so loud it swallowed her final words. Wiping tears of laughter from his eyes, the lead escort placed a hand on Dr. Fermi's shoulder and leaned in close. "If you don't move your motherfucking legs, I'm going to hit you again." He gave Fermi a hard shove, and the entourage resumed its march toward the stage. Up above, the hostess danced lightly across the platform, coaxing the crowd into louder cheers, like a rock star stoking a fire. She was beautiful, so striking that, in another life, her face might have been plastered across every screen in the city. Her auburn hair was tied in a neat ponytail beneath a blood-red beret, a small black star outlined in gold at its center. She wore a fitted black leather jacket over tight camouflage leggings that disappeared into knee-high crimson go-hill boots. Every piece of her attire was calculated, deliberate, a weapon of charisma. As the men ascended the stage steps, now swallowed by the bodies of those straining for a better view, the hostess's eyes, the greenest shade of verdant, sparkled with excitement. When the entourage reached her side, she punched a fist into the air and roared like a lioness fresh from a kill. The men threw Dr. Fermi to his knees at her feet. As he looked up at her, he was struck by her beauty and her youth. But beneath that veil of allure, something cold stared back at him, something feral. A shark, he thought. "Welcome to the party, gorgeous," she said, leaning close and shielding the mic with a well-manicured hand. As he struggled to stand, she gently looped an arm under his, lifting him as if in a gesture from a different era, one where maybe she'd worn a Girl Scout uniform. Now upright and facing the roaring crowd, Fermi felt his guts liquefy. "I want to share a personal anecdote with you, my comrades," the hostess said, her tone shifting to something solemn. "Truly, I must thank the doctor. Without his contribution, I may never have found the party. Once upon a time, I was just a humble student. I didn't come from a bourgeois family. We weren't people of means. And when SARS 2029 struck, I, like all of you, was quarantined in my school. I couldn't go home. My parents were sick. They died in that home, alone. And why? Because of him," she said, gesturing toward Fermi without looking at him. "The good doctor's orders kept us locked in. The blockades made sure no medication could reach them. We didn't even know they were gone until weeks later. After the pigs shut down the comms, we used to fight so-called malinformation." At that word, malinformation, the jeering crowd quieted into a murmur of unease. Angry stares replaced grins. The doctor bowed his head and gently shook it. He knew what came next. Then, after the quarantines were lifted and life began to stir again, the Edison reports were leaked, and they proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that the entire thing was... She turned to the crowd, her voice detonating from her tiny frame with explosive fury. "Bogus!" She stared into Fermi with eyes shrink-wrapped in gossamer tears. She wiped them away with the back of her hand. These men of science, these capitalists, manufactured the crisis to gut the government and pad their returns. Countless lives lost. Suicide. Isolation. Also pigs like this, she tousled his dirty hair like he was a toddler, could squeeze a little more profit from the suffering. Her incipient rage softened with that final gesture. Then, switching effortlessly, she returned to her game show tone. "But that's the past, as they say," she chirped with a smile. "And really, I should be grateful. Without that lesson, I might still be slaving for our former masters." "This man," she said, placing a hand on Fermi's shoulder, "set me free." The crowd erupted. "He set you free!" she shouted back at them, the chant built to a fevered pitch. "And what reward shall we bestow upon our generous benefactor?" she asked, twirling away from him, a finger pressed to her lips in mock contemplation. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. Then, one voice rang out like a shot. "Crane him! Give him the crane!" The chant caught like wildfire. "Crane! Crane! Crane!" She turned slowly to face the mob, then pivoted her whole body toward them. She held the microphone aloft, catching the roar and blasting it across the city. "The masses have spoken," she declared, raising a fist again. "Give him the crane!" From behind the building, a monstrous mobile crane rolled into view. Its boom turned slowly, hanging over the stage like the sword of Damocles. The cable descended, ending in a massive iron hook. The three men of the entourage kicked Dr. Fermi's legs out from under him. He hit the stage with a squeal, high and desperate, like a pig dragged to slaughter. The crowd roared louder. "Crane! Crane! Crane!" They pounced on him, tearing at his clothes until he was stripped bare, save for the gleam of his gold watch. Steel wire was wrapped around his wrists and ankles, binding him like livestock for market. "Stop this! Stop!" the doctor cried. "Halt!" the hostess ordered, lifting her hand. "Let the pig speak." She crouched beside him and shoved the microphone in his face. "You've got it wrong. It wasn't like that," he squealed, panic shredding his voice. It wasn't me. Please, I have children. I'm innocent of this. The crowd hissed, but the hostess raised her palm for silence. She placed the mic behind her back and leaned in, brushing the hair from his blood-slick brow. There is no innocence in this world, she whispered softly. Then she kissed his forehead, leaving a fire-red lipstick imprint from her lips. Thank you for teaching me that. His eyes widened. He understood. Nothing he said could save him. Hoist him, she growled, rising to her feet. The men affixed the crane's iron hook to his feet and signaled the operator. The boom reeled in, lifting Fermi upside down into the air. His body thrashed, jerking violently as the crowd screamed in anticipation. Hold! The hostess shouted. The boom froze in place. Her eyes had caught something, the glint on his wrist. Nice watch, Dr. Fermi, she said, stepping forward. You won't need it where you're going. She slipped it off with care and turned it over in her hands, admiring the gaudy relic of a forgotten elite. Nice watch, she repeated in her thoughts, before casually waving the crane operator onward. As the doctor ascended, the boom swung to the side, over a group of 4 men in red berets, each holding the leash of a snarling pit bull. 5 in total, all muscle and rage, barking and snapping at the air as drops of Fermi's blood rained down on them. The scent drove them wild. The crane began its descent. Fermi screamed in terror as the snapping jaws grew nearer, pulled from the darkest place in his mind. But his voice was swallowed by the chaos, cheering, howling, chanting. The hostess was still turning the watch over in her palm. Nice fucking watch, she muttered, then clenched it in her fist and hurled it into the crowd. They erupted, hysterical, rabid, euphoric.